this hour. The North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria has announced that the Oscar Pistorius murder sentencing. Now, sentencing proceedings will start on the 13th of June 2016. This comes after the Constitutional Court dismissed the Paralympians' bid to have the murder conviction overturned. Last year, the Supreme Court of Appeal converted Pistorius' culpable homicide conviction to murder. Pistorius killed his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day in 2013. Let's now cross live back to our reporter Griselda Lewis, who is at the North Gauteng High Court. A very good morning once again to you, Griselda, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Elvis.
Can you give us the latest, what is happening there at court, Griselda?
Well, proceedings were expected to be very brief here this morning, and that's exactly what happened, Elvis. We saw Oscar Pistorius rush into the North Gauteng High Court, of course, under the glare of the world's media. The media attention that we saw here this morning is exactly what we saw throughout the trial, and of course officially read into the record there that the murder sentencing for Oscar Pistorius will take place between the 13th to the 17th of June. On the 17th of June, that's when we were expecting them to conclude this matter. What we also do now know is that Oscar Pistorius' bail conditions have been relaxed, that Oscar Pistorius will now be able to travel outside, 20 kilometers outside of his home, and that he will not need to ask for permission from correctional services. Instead, he would need to get permission from the investigating officer, Mike van Aert, now. So in terms of the relaxation of those bail conditions, that's what Oscar Pistorius would need to comply with. What we also heard from lawyers is that Oscar Pistorius is on his third tracking device at the moment. Apparently, it's been malfunctioning. That's the tracking device, of course, that he's been wearing on his wrist. And Judge Aubrey Ledwaba, of course, saying that's an issue that needs to be sorted out. But we saw massive support for Oscar Pistorius outside court this morning. We saw some supporters who say if they've traveled from around the globe. They signed a banner outside here indicating that the support for Oscar Pistorius is worldwide. They're saying that Oscar Pistorius never received a fair trial and that he was essentially tried by the media and that he was prejudiced. They say that the initial sentence that was meted out, the findings of Judge Thokozile Masipa of culpable homicide, is the correct one that Oscar Pistorius should serve, and they're saying that they're going to continue showing support for Oscar Pistorius outside. They say they're going to be outside this court once again once the sentencing proceedings get underway from the 13th to the 17th of June.
What was his demeanor like in court this morning, and was there family support for him in court, Griselda?
Well, that's right. After Oscar Pistorius walked inside the North Gauteng High Court, we saw his family members as well. Amy Pistorius, his sister, was also inside court. Of course, you'd know that she'd been showing massive support for her brother, as expected, since the very beginning of this matter, as well as his father, Henk Pistorius, was also in court this morning. We saw them hugging each other inside the court and really showing support for Oscar Pistorius. And I think everybody wanted to see Oscar Pistorius' reaction and how Oscar Pistorius is doing. Of course, you would know that he was admitted to a hospital. We got that confirmation from correctional services, but of course, no one is willing to say what exactly he was admitted to the Pretoria hospital for. But Oscar Pistorius sat in the dock here this morning with his head bowed down, and when he was asked to stand up by Judge Aubrey Ledwaba, he looked straight at him and basically agreed to Judge Ledwaba when the judge was, of course, telling him that he needs to be back at court on the date for the sentencing. And essentially, as he walked out of the court again, there was quite a media scrum again to get pictures of Oscar Pistorius. But of course, nobody willing to answer questions about what Oscar Pistorius' condition is and whether he is doing well.
Griselda, thank you so much for that update. That's our reporter on the scene, Griselda Lewis. Now, Czech fugitive Radovan Kricha and his 4 co-accused are expected to appear. In fact, they're appearing in the High Court in Johannesburg today on charges relating to the murder of the Lebanese national Sam Issa. We believe that it just started. We'll probably go there shortly. Now, Issa was gunned